Welcome to another episode of Chasing 80s Toys, and we're taking a look at Masters of the Universe Origins Wave 5. Wave 5 came out in 2021 and we get Fisto, we got Merman, the Lords of Power Merman, 2000X Evelyn, and we get Faker. Now before I'm opening these card backs and take a closer look at the figures, I want to show you the beautiful artwork inspired by the vintage toy line from the 80s. And here we have the 4 figures released from their card backs. Overall impression, first impression, is that they look pretty good. At this point there are no paint errors I can detect, so that's also a plus point. Now with each new wave of Origins figures comes a new mini-comic. And the mini-comic you get with each of these 4 figures is called Sucker Punch. There's no text in the mini-comic, and that's all because these are worldwide releases. You only get the text when you have a US released figure, at least that's how I understood it works. Still pretty cool artwork, and you can kind of follow the story even without the text. So very nice that the mini-comics are there anyway, so that's a big plus, and I don't really care that much that there's no text in it. On the back of the mini-comic again, some of the figures, He-Man and Skeletor from earlier lines, or I don't know if these two are the one with the new head sculpts that are released. And you get the 4 figures from Wave 5, and same sort of layout you got back in the 80s with the mini-comics from then, so it's a real nice nod to the 80s that these are included. Also included with each figure, and I'm gonna show you the instruction sheet for Fisto as an example, it shows you the body parts that are removable, and that's for mixing and matching your figures to create your own versions of origins, heroes or villains, whatever way you like. So that's a nice play feature too. Pretty cool that they added that. It's not a must for me, but it's nice, it's there. Next up, I'm going to show you some close-ups of the figures so you can really take in the details on these Origins figures. Now before doing a comparison with the counterparts from the 80s, I want to show you one of the big differences again these figures have over the vintage, and that is articulation. Legs can move like never before at the knees, at the heels. You got 360 movement on the waist, which with the vintage was a power punch action for most of the figures. The arms got articulation on almost every thinkable point, and the head can move left, right and up and down, so you can get some amazing poses out of these toys. And we're now one step away from comparing these Origins with their counterparts from the 80s. Before I do that, I want to take a closer look at earlier released Origins versions of Merman and Evelyn. And here we have Fisto from the Origins toy line and Fisto from the 80s. The vintage Fisto. And as far as looks go, I would have to say the Origins one wins for me. I'm a big fan of the Filmation cartoon, and as far as the looks go, this Origins Fisto, it's closer to home for me, so he's a winner, but that's all down to personal taste, I guess. As far as action features go, Fisto from the 80s wins. He has that waist punch action, and he's got a spring in this joint so he can slam his fist against the foes who work for Skeletor. So that's always a cool action gimmick. Still works after all these years, and yeah, it's a shame that the Origins line doesn't have that feature included, but as far as looks go, the Origins one wins for me. And here we have the vintage Evelyn next to the two Evelyns from the Origins toy line. And I have to be completely honest here, I don't really have a favorite. I like the more shiny look of the vintage Evelyn. The face sculpt on the Origins one is just a little bit more refined, I think, and it's just a little bit more up to my taste. I really like that we got the 2000X color scheme on Evelyn, so that's a big bonus for me too. But overall, yeah, Evelyn was pretty cool back in the 80s and still is today. And here we have Merman. This is the Merman from the 80s, one of my favorite figures back then, and I put version 1 of the Origins Merman next to him so you can really see they were going for this style with the Origins Merman, but just look at this Origins Lords of Power Merman. The boots, the gloves, the armor, it's beautiful. I really like the look of this figure. Now there's also another Merman I like to bring into this equation, and that's the Super 7 Filmation style Merman, which is also in the same scale. And this one is definitely modeled after the Filmation cartoon Merman. If I would have to pick a favorite between the 4 Mermans on this table, I would go with the Filmation style Super 7 one. I just love that look. But a close second after that has to be this awesome looking Lords of Power Merman. And here we have the vintage Faker next to the Origins Faker, and this is a figure from the 80s which I never had in the 80s. This was always a holy grail for me, and I bought it a couple of years ago on eBay, and pretty cool to have him. The difference between the vintage one and the Origins one, besides the wrist punch action feature and of course the big difference in articulation, is that the vintage Faker came with a sticker you can put on his chest, and this is the original sticker. It fell off my Faker, and instead of trying to put it back or put new glue on it, I just put it in this bag and keep it for display with my figure like that. When I remove the armor, and this armor is made of a far more rubbery kind of plastic than the harder plastic we got back in the vintage, this Faker has, oh, there you go, no sticker on his chest. This is imprinted, painted. I don't know exactly how they did it, but it's no longer a sticker. It's not in the center. That's something I do notice. I don't know how that is with other Fakers from the Origins toy line. I would have liked it, but maybe that's just me. If this was placed a little bit more to this side, so it's more centered. Overall, a pretty cool version of Faker in the Origins toy line. Happy to have him. Happy Mattel brings out all these figures, and we're in the 5th wave in the Netherlands over here, the figures we can get over here. There's a lot more figures to come and already out abroad, I believe, so looking forward to what Mattel will give us with the Origins toy line in the near future. And with that, we come to the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed the look at these Wave 5 Origins figures from Masters of the Universe. Now before I leave you, I want to do a big shout out to a good buddy of mine, Marc ShabbyGeek. He has a YouTube channel and he's a big fan of MOTU Origins as well. Information to his YouTube channel is in the description below this video, so be sure to check it out. I can highly recommend it. I also made a playlist for MOTU Origins on my own channel, so if you want to see more of MOTU Origins, you can go there as well. And of course, I hope to see you next time, because Chasing 80s Toys will be back with more MOTU Origins and lots of other videos and cool stuff in the near future. Thanks again for watching and see you on the next one.